You may be wondering, who am I pinning up against Needle Knight, Leda, and allies? First, let's see who comprises of those allies. First, we got Needle Knight, Leda, Ansbach, Freya, Dalier, Moore, Hornscent, and Dryleaf Dane. And then on the side of the 7, I'm choosing Homelander, Stormfront, Starlight, Black Noir, A-Train, The Deep, and Queen Maeve. Friends, I don't have a script with me when I do these videos, so memorizing 14 names from 2 different medias, damn, that was hard. It took me a little bit, but I got it. All right. So if you see me forgetting who versus who, I apologize. All right. Forgive me. But let us just start off with the thumbnail here. And with the thumbnail, you would think the people on the top will be paired against the people on the bottom, except I actually did switch Needle Knight, Leda, and Homelander because they're the leaders of their group respectively. But I think Homelander has a chance at beating Needle Knight, Leda. Now, what you guys have to remember here, right? These guys are human, essentially. They're tarnished with really cool abilities attached to their weapons and everything, and they have good armor. But at the end of the day, they are only human. But you need to remember that they went toe-to-toe with the Tarnish. Yeah, they lost. Okay, they lost a 7v1. I mean, essentially. Of course, there's like some exceptions here. Like, not everyone can essentially be on the final fight against the Tarnish. You know, so it's not all 7. Or is it all 7? Actually, I'm not entirely sure. If you do know, tell me in the comments. That have you done a 1v7 against Needle Knight, Leda, and allies? If so, what was that like for you, huh? Because they have a bunch of health points. You know, they really do, individually and together. Like, I think Leda herself has like 100k, around that anyways. In terms of health points, is like, you do not need that many. You really don't need that much health. But I actually think Homelander does have a chance of beating Leda, and if that is the case, maybe we should switch her out. And I think Leda versus Starlight would be a much more cooler fight, in, you know, as an idea, because Leda's needles, you know, are kind of like needles of light. She serves Mikola, who is basically like a, you know, he's like a god of light, kind of, you know. Isn't his miracle thing, like his miracle attack, isn't it called like Mikola's light or something? There you go. See? And then, you know, we have Starlight, who uses her powers from electricity. That's another problem, though, when you think about it. The problem with Starlight is that she does need electricity for the most part, you know? And electricity is everywhere, you know, these days, which is a problem because if we were to take the fight to Elden Ring, well, there's no electricity in Elden Ring. Well, there might be some natural sources of lightning which causes electricity, etc., but that would be crazy. I mean, you would have to be fighting on a field of like the yellow, you know, the yellow things that like attract lightning in the game. I think they're called like I'm gonna get this wrong. I think they're called like full grum. They're full something, and they just cause electricity, lightning to strike where they are. I mean, if they were fighting there, Starlight could have a chance here, an advantage of sorts. But I think, you know, last video we had Homelander enter the Elden Ring universe. It seems only fair that the Elden Ring characters here enter the boys universe this time, right? We don't need to get into specifics. I don't really like creating fanfic, though I guess a lot of this is fanfic in a way. I don't like really creating a story behind it all. But if you guys do want me to create a story behind it all, then hey, maybe I will, but not today. All right, there was, let's just say, a milky portal opened up. Boom, Leda and allies enter it. They enter the boys universe. They enter the Tower of the Seven, maybe. And the way the tower works is that the Milky Portal has separated them in the Vought Tower, right? And they're levels, right? So level 1 could be Black Noir and Dryleaf Dane, and then level 7 would be Homelander and Moore. I'm putting Homelander up against Moore here. So they're all fighting on different levels of, because if they were fighting as a team, I imagine as a team, 7 could actually wipe out Needle Knight, Leda, and allies. But like I said, the reason why this is even considerable as a fight is that they went toe-to-toe with the Tarnish, who goes toe-to-toe with literal gods. So, kind of, it's a crazy fight to think about. And I know I remember people in the last video were like, oh, Homelander easily destroys Elden Ring, and then some people were like, oh, Homelander easily gets destroyed by Elden Ring, right? So this is really a matter of perspective from you guys. What do you guys think? Do you think they shouldn't even be compared? Like Homelander and the 7 would absolutely destroy Needle Knight, Leda, and allies, or Needle Knight, Leda, and allies would absolutely destroy the 7? Because when you think about it, right, they are just human. Like I've said earlier, they are just human, but they're human. They're way stronger than humans could ever be. That's just a fact, because they went toe to toe with a Tarnish, who is definitely way stronger than humans could ever be. But with that said, let's just begin, right? Let's just straight up begin. So let's just start off with the first fight here. Dryleaf Dane versus Black Noir. Black Noir has superhuman strength, superhuman agility, and we've seen him go toe-to-toe with Kimiko, which I think is one of his most impressive feats, really. And I guess taking hits from Soldier Boy, right? So Black Noir is impressive in all of that sense, considering Soldier Boy and Homelander are like the top dogs in the boys universe, and they barely take damage unless it was from each other or from Queen Maeve, which we'll get to later. I think the fight between Queen Maeve and Freya is also very fun to think about, considering they're both warrior types, But Black Noir could take down Dryleaf Dane, because Dryleaf Dane, as impressive as he is, Dryleaf Dane is just a simple martial artist. Like we've seen his martial arts. We can use his martial arts, really, and they're great. And I think one of his benefits is that hand attack, the one where he holds it in, and then boom, the palm attack, the palm blast, I believe it's called. And that absolutely destroys, right? I feel like that could possibly destroy Black Noir if Black Noir isn't careful. But at the same time, that attack, you could really tell when it's about to happen. Like, he really channels all the energy into that palm blast. So, Black Noir, you could imagine him maybe dodging it, maybe even not entirely tanking it, but definitely taking a significant amount of damage from it. With that said, I still think Black Noir wins out, just in terms of strength and agility, and maybe even martial arts too. Combat ability. I would say Black Noir, unfortunately, he wins against Dryleaf Dane. But if you disagree with me, feel free to discuss it with me in the comments. I'm always up to discussion. I'm always chill with everybody who disagrees or agrees with me. So go ahead. Now we have to move on to, I think, my favorite fight. Just thinking about it is so silly. Ansbach and the Deep, right? Because the Deep is absolutely getting demolished by Ansbach, and it's not even close. All right, this guy Ansbach, he is insane in his own ways. I mean, he fights alongside you against Needle Knight, Leda, and allies, and he's able to even take down ally or two before he could even die. So that's pretty impressive. He's one of the strongest members on that team, and I think that's really that should really take notice there of that, right? That he is able to do that. And the Deep, I would say he is the weakest member of the team. So Ansbach, I feel like this doesn't need discussion, but hey, if you disagree with me, you know. Ansbach absolutely demolishes the Deep. Now, Freya versus Queen Maeve is a fun one, because Queen Maeve can go toe-to-toe with Homelander. She's one of the top 3 in terms of power, really. When you think about it, it would be Homelander, Queen Maeve, and the Soldier Boy. They would be the top 3, because they could go toe-to-toe with each other. And, you know, Queen Maeve was absolutely hitting Homelander where it hurts, even like using his weak spots, like his ears. They're super sensitive because they can hear everything. So, bam, right? Queen Maeve is strong and she's smart, clearly. So, put Queen Maeve against another super smart person. I mean, Freya was kind of done dirty since she didn't really know where to go or what to do when she was stuck in Shadowkeep, right? She needed our help for it, but don't undermine her intelligence, because she was one of the loyal soldiers of General Radon. General Radon, who basically was on a side of the war, the Shattering War, to be example, against Melania and her army, and they went toe to toe. I mean, she even survived the Scarlet Rot bomb that turned Caelid into what it is now. So you need to give Freya some credit here. She is strong and powerful in all sense of the word. So Queen Maeve versus Freya could be such a really cool fight. And like I said earlier, they're cool just thinking about it because they're like both warrior types, right? More so than the other characters, though they're all warriors except for the rest of the 7, obviously. But really, when you think about it, it's really hard to say who would win that fight, Queen Maeve or Freya. I might just give it to Freya just for the fact that Freya literally tanked a Caelid bomb and is one of the most loyal soldiers of Radon until, she got Mikola blasted. So she was mind controlled by Mikola. That's really besides the point, honestly. Not her fault. It's not because she's weak-willed or dumb, alright? I don't think I've ever seen anyone say that she is, but I feel like people could kind of take that from her being weak-willed or easily manipulated or being dumb, as shown in her quest line. If you meet her in Shadowkeep, she's like, what do I do here? Right? But she's not. She isn't. Like I said, she's one of the top soldiers for General Radon, maybe even fought alongside that the old man, if you remember his name. I don't, but he's the one who does the festivals, right? The Radon festivals, right? Probably fought alongside him too, so it's very interesting to think about, Also, remember, she says she actually she's like horrendously scarred from the Caelid bomb that Scarlet launched, basically. But if you look at her character, if you actually take off the helmet of the character, Zully the Witch is an Elden Ring YouTuber who has done this. Her scar isn't that bad. Her scar is not that bad at all. Now you could lock that up into insecurities that Mikola uses to obviously mind control her, because it seems like all of these people have mental vulnerabilities that Mikola uses to make them, fall for him, really. Needle Knight Leda, she's a super paranoid lady. We all know this. You may have seen the memes, "You can't fix her" type memes, right? And Mikola uses that, but that does not mean that any of these characters are dumb in any way, like I've said. And let's harken back, right, to the scar. The scar isn't that bad, right? So you have to think, how close was she to the bomb to have not gotten Scarlet Rot, to have been scarred though, right? It's a bit confusing when you think about it, right? How could you have been so close to be scarred but not bombed by this? I'm not saying she's lying or anything. I'm just saying, though, maybe she is somehow resistant to it in some way or another, and maybe Mikola even helped her not die of Scarlet Rot. Maybe. We don't know. the specifics, and maybe we do, and I'm just dumb. That's always a possibility. If so, leave a comment below. But I definitely think Redmane Freya is winning just out of pure perseverance. With Queen Maeve. I think Queen Maeve would definitely pull up a fight, though. It would definitely be a close one, but I think Freya wins if Queen Maeve does not win, which sounds obvious, but yeah. Thalier versus A-Train. So the reason why I put up Thalier and A-Train is because I thought it would be so funny if A-Train's running at Thalier, and if somehow Thalier is just able to sleep him while he's mid-running. Obviously not, right? Which is unfortunate. I doubt Thalier has the capabilities of registering such speeds that A-Train can run. So A-Train absolutely demolishes Thalier, unfortunately, even though Thalier is kind of undermined. People call Thalier like a femboy. I understand why he has kind of like a very small frame, but you have to remember he does fight alongside the Tarnished, right? Against Needle Knight Leda and allies, so he's very strong in that sense. I mean, once again, he's weak-willed in a sense because or he's vulnerable because he's like kind of addicted to Saint Trina's nectar, I guess, right? And Miquella once again uses that vulnerability to mind control him. Unfortunate, but it's a good thing we don't have any mind controlling people on the 7 yet, or else everyone would have been wiped in Needle Knight Leda and her ally squad, right? They would have been absolutely wiped, and it would not have been great. Moore versus Homelander. Moore versus Homelander. This fight was interesting because I was thinking, oh, I should have put Homelander up against Moore or up against Needle Knight Leda. It makes sense, they're both the leaders of the respective team. But I was like, there's no way Needle Knight Leda, but there's no way Needle Knight Leda absolutely wins against Homelander, in my opinion. Now that might seem dumb considering who I've been giving wins and losses to, but I've been giving wins and losses to those who win due to some huge advantage. Like A-Train has his speed, Ansbach Deep has literally nothing, so Ansbach just wins that, right? And Freya and Queen Maeve, who are similar in many ways and different in many ways, but very similar, they get into basically a stalemate, And I'm thinking, well, there's no advantage or disadvantage Homelander and Needle Knight Leda have against each other, really. I mean, yeah, Homelander has heat vision and he can fly and he's super strong, but so are the rest of the 7. They're very super strong in that sense. But the problem here is that there's nothing, it's not an even fight. I want to make these fights as even as I can, and Moore is the tank. When you think about it, he is the tank. My only problem with the Moore versus Homelander fight is that I don't know if you've ever seen Moore fight against you in the game. He uses his shield to attack you. His shield. Fellas, I've used a shield in Elden Ring PvP. It's not really that great, I'll tell you. And this is Homelander we're talking about here. So when you think about it, it's less great than you would wish for here. He uses his shield, but I think one of the great things about his shield is his special move with the shield, which basically pushes enemies back, but it doesn't do damage. It's very unfortunate because it doesn't do damage. That's the problem with the Moore versus Homelander fight. Moore is tanky, he's strong, he's everything you would want for someone going up against someone like Homelander. But he doesn't do anything, dude. He does no damage. You could say, oh, but Moore might absolutely destroy if he hits Homelander with the shield. You have to remember that Moore has a great shield, dude. That shield does only heavy like attacks. If you ever use a shield in Elden Ring and you use the great shield as an attack weapon, I mean the jellyfish shield is even used as a heavy like attack. Right, so it moves slowly when you attack. You're probably never gonna get hit by Moore And if you do get hit by more, you're only going to get hit by a special attack, which does no damage, which is my problem, is that even if Homelander was somehow couldn't hurt more, couldn't kill more even, more cannot do the same with Homelander. It's like the unstoppable rock versus the immovable object. I said that wrong, but you know what I'm talking about. The unstoppable force versus the immovable object, right? Except lasers. Homelander does have lasers, and he can fly. So I can imagine Homelander could pick up more, maybe, and throw him high enough for more to die of fall damage. That's the only way I imagine Moore losing this fight, is if he allows himself to die in such a manner, and laser beams as well. But Moore could just block those with his shield. Now, there's a matter of, can Homelander's laser go through Moore's armor and shield? It's hard to say, right? Because, you know, what are metals in Elden Ring? You know, what type of metals are there in Elden Ring? Are there metals that are super heat resistant? There is heat resistance on armors, though, and like I said in the last video, you know, Homelander's lasers, you know, they're hearkening, they're basically a parody, they're a copy of Superman's lasers, and the official name for the lasers is heat vision. So Moore's armor is super strong. If Moore wore the fire prelate armor, he probably wouldn't take too much damage from the heat vision, from Homelander's heat vision, but I can imagine he would get heated up in his armor, which could Homelander could just try to cook him from the inside, which would be a scary thought to think about if he did do that. But that is something Homelander could do to win the fight, or just throw him into the atmosphere, something like that. I can imagine that's one way Homelander would win, though it could also be an immovable object versus an unstoppable force situation as well. That's really up to you guys to decide, really. Horn Scent versus Stormfront. Now, the reason I chose this this fight, you might have guessed already, but Horn Scent is a minority. I know it sounds silly, right? But it kind of matters, because Horn Scent is the last of his people, right? So I imagine he would hate someone like Stormfront, who very much would definitely, Stormfront would definitely dislike someone like Horn Scent, because of the character she is. And you know the type of character she is. She would definitely 100% hate Horn Scent, and Horn Scent would 100% hate her. If they knew about each other, they knew about their backgrounds, they would fight, they would clash. Now, would Horn Scent win the fight, and would Stormfront win the fight? Well, Stormfront is interesting. You know, she's kind of like Homelander, so she's like the top 5, I would say, in strength, in terms of strength and ability and all that, right? So she's not something to scoff at. She is one of the strongest characters in The Boys so far. But Horn Scent as well, he wears like really weak armor. I don't know if you guys knew this. His armor is very much on the weak side. I think, though, his speed is what matters, or rather, weapons he uses are very much on par. You know, they're fast, is what I'm trying to say. They're fast. So Stormfront could possibly be knocked down by that. But remember, Stormfront was able to take down, I think it was Kimiko and Starlight and Queen Maeve, if I remember correctly. I might be misremembering that fight. It's been a while since I've seen The Boys, but Stormfront was taking on all 3 of them, and she wasn't exactly winning, but she was winning, or she wasn't winning, but she was holding out. You know, she was holding her own in the fight. All right, it was a 3v1. She took basically no damage, even if she was taking a pummeling. So with that said, I think she would win the fight, unfortunately. But I just loved the dynamic that they could have if they were to cross paths together, considering Horn Scent's background and Stormfront's background. Okay, now the fight we've all been waiting for. Needle Knight Leda versus Starlight. I was talking about this fight earlier, how they're both kind of characters of light. Leda is serving Mikola, who, he's basically a god of light, essentially, to put it simply, really. And Starlight takes her powers from light. So who would win this fight of light? Well, Starlight is interesting because she would be up there in terms of power. She would be in the top 7 in terms of power that we've seen from the boys' characters so far. Sure, she's not top 3, she's not top 5, but she's definitely top 7, if not 7, then top 10 in terms of power, which, there's not a lot of characters you can choose from once you're getting to the 10s and beyond, but what I'm trying to say here. Starlight is strong. She held her own against Stormfront. She kind of handled Homelander's attacks. One of his attacks, remember he grabbed her side, and he probably wasn't trying to kill her, but but it is interesting to see that it seems like Homelander could possibly destroy her as easily as he destroyed that one guy who joined in for a few episodes, but then got blasted once A-Train called out on their conspiracy to overtake Homelander. It's unfortunate, but rest in peace, that one guy. So Starlight's durability might not be the greatest, but her strength definitely showed when she was fighting people like Stormfront. It definitely showed there. So there is a chance that maybe, in terms of strength, Needle Knight Leda, and maybe even speed as well, Needle Knight Leda could lose this fight, right? But I am kind of leaning towards Needle Knight Leda, not because I'm biased, but because I'm biased, but also because of that one attack she uses. The one attack, I think Starlight would absolutely be kerfuffled if she saw it, right? And that attack is the needle attack from her sword, right? If she used that attack on Starlight, there's no way Starlight would predict a bunch of needles surrounding her and impaling her. There's no way. Starlight would definitely get attacked. Now, whether she gets pierced by those attacks, I'll leave it up to you guys. I think she would, just because the needles are magic needles, so they definitely could pierce through someone like Starlight just because they're magic and not just some ordinary iron sword, right, or iron needle, right? These are magic needles, magic golden needles that would definitely could impale her, and that would definitely heavily damage her. You've seen how she reacts to a bullet shot, right? She doesn't get wounded from it, but she staggers from it. Can you imagine the needles then, the magical needles actually damaging her? She would definitely struggle to get up if she could get up at all from it, and that's what I think. But if you disagree, comment down below. We could have a conversation about it. But that's it for this. Like if you want to, dislike if you want to, and subscribe if you want to. Peace.